The aroma of stew filled the dining room as Jungkook pulled out his chair, the heavy silence of the house settling over the table. Moments later, Van walked in from the kitchen holding a steaming porcelain bowl. She set it down carefully, serving him his portion first. As Jungkook looked up, Van offered him a faint, reassuring smile, quick and subtle, ensuring his parents, along with his uncle, aunt, and cousin, would not catch it. Knowing how exhausting his day had been, she slipped an extra portion of meat onto his plate. His absolute favorite, a rare genuine smile flickered across Jungkook's before one quietly took her seat right beside him. Jungkook, his father's deep voice broke the quiet. The meeting with the foreign clients had been moved up to 2 days from now on. I hope you have not forgotten. Jungkook didn't miss a beat while eating. Yes, Dad, I remember. His mother glanced sideways at Van, her tone laced with a subtle disdain. Your father just wanted to remind you, considering your mind seems to wander elsewhere these days. Underneath the dining table, Van's hand tensed, but before she could shrink back, Jungkook's finger wrapped firmly around hers, giving a reassuring squeeze. Don't worry, Mom, Jungkook said calmly, his gaze steady. I know my responsibilities. Has there ever been a single slip up in my work? No. His mother offered a stiff, reluctant nod before returning to her meal. They all knew the truth behind the tension. Jungkook had married Hwan against his family's fierce opposition. They believed she was not from their world, that she lacked the status to stand beside the of the Jeon Empire. But Jungkook had chosen over a legacy. Despite the cold glances and passive aggressive remarks from his family, Hwan never put on a fake front. She didn't waste her energy trying to impress his parents, uncle, aunt, or cousin. She remained genuinely herself, soft spoken, resilient, and treating everyone in the household with a quiet respect, anchored entirely by the unwavering. After finishing the dinner, Van quietly helped clean up before heading upstairs to their bedroom. Jungkook was sitting on the edge of the large bed, leaning his back against the headboard with his eyes closed. He looked exhausted. Seeing him like this made Van's heart ache a little. As the CEO of the massive Zeon Corporation, his days were always filled with stress, long meetings, and heavy expectations. Van grabbed a small bottle of hair oil she had prepared earlier. Walking over to the bed, she sat softly right beside him and poured a few drops onto her palms. Let me help you relax, she whispered gently. Jungkook opened his eyes, looking up at her with a soft, tired gaze, and gave a small nod. He rested his head near her as Avan began to massage his scalp with smooth, gentle fingers. She focused completely on running her hands through his dark hair, hoping the oil and massage would wash away all the tension from his long day. Van always worried about his health and wanted to make sure he got enough rest and care, especially with his family making a things for him downstairs. What Van didn't realize though was that the oil massage was just a bonus for Jungkook. The stress of the business world and the cold attitude of his family faded away the second he saw her face. Just being near her, holding her hand, and feeling her gentle was the real medicine he needed. Jungkook reached up and lightly wrapped his hand around her free wrist, bringing her hand down to place a on her knuckles. You don't have to worry so much about me, Jungkook said softly, looking up into her eyes. Just having you here with me is more than enough. One smile, oh, tenderness filling her heart. She leaned down slowly and pressed a sweet gentle onto his forehead. I'll always worry about you, Jungkook, she whispered against his. Jungkook closed his eyes with a content sigh, pulling her closer into a soft hug as the rest of the world faded away. The bright light and the busy corridor of the mall provided a completely different kind of chaos. One walked down the aisle of an upscale section, shooting a fierce glare at her best friend Sakura. Sakura, on the other hand, was practically glowing with amusement, giggling non-stop at Van's bright red face. They had originally come to the mall for a simple shopping trip to buy some casual clothes, but the moment Sakura saw the store, she had dragged Van inside with a mischievous grin, insisting that Van needed to buy something special for a Jungkook eyes only. Oh, come on, Van. You should really try one of these. It's so pretty. Sakura urged, pulling a piece of fabric off the rack and holding up it with a playful wink. Van turned her head to look at what Sakura was holding, and her eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Sakura, Van gasped, her voice dropping to an embarrassed whisper as her face turned completely beet red. The piece in Sakura's hand could barely even be called clothing. It was made of a sheer black lace and razor thin silk ribbons, so that it was practically hiding nothing at all. Are you crazy? Van stammered, covering her cheeks with her hand. I cannot wear something like that. Sakura just laughed loud, leaning in closer. Why not? You two are married. Trust me, if you wear this, Seojeon won't even care about his foreign client meeting 2 days from now. Van rolled her eyes, her cheeks even at her friend's teasing. Now go, try it on, and see how it looks. Sakura purrs, shoving the hanger into Van's hand with an eager grin. Van let out a heavy sigh, shooting Sakura one last playful glare before snatching the piece of lace and turning on her heel toward the fitting rooms. Behind her, Sakura's mischievous laughter rang out through the shop. Sakura turned back around to look at the other rags, but her giggles instantly vanished into thin air. Standing right near the entrance of the store, looking effortlessly sharp in a tailored dark suit, was a Jungkook. Sakura's pose straightened instantly. She respected Jungkook and genuinely how he adored Van, but his icy presence around anyone who was not his wife always made her little nervous. Jungkook walked over, his dark eyes scanning the store before settling on Sakura. Did you to come here for a shopping? Yes, Sakura nodded, offering a tight, nervous smile. Jungkook gave a single polite nod of acknowledgement before walking straight past her toward the back row of changing rooms. Sakura stayed behind, quietly stepping away to give the couple their privacy. Meanwhile, inside the changing area, the door to stall was slightly ajar. She had forgotten to click the lock in her rush to get away from Sakura. Jungkook pushed the door open quietly, expecting to just surprise her, but the moment his eyes fell on the scene inside, he coughed firmly in his throat. Van was standing in front of the mirror, adjusting the delicate black that hugged every single of her. The light cocked the sheer fabric, exposing a smooth and far more than it covered. She looked innocent and completely all at once. A dark, heavy settled low in Jungkook's. The quiet, tired husband from the night before vanished, replaced instantly by the of a man looking at what was entirely his eyes, as his mind raced to place that had nothing to do with work or client meetings. Van heard the slight creak of the door and gasped, turning around in while trying to cover herself with her hands. Jungkook didn't say a word. He simply stepped inside, clicked the lock firmly into place, and leaned back against the door, his gaze right through her. John, what are you doing here? Van gasped, her hand instinctively flying up to try and cover herself, though the sheer barely gave her any privacy. Jungkook didn't move from the door. Instead, a slow, shameless wake spread across his as his eyes trailed slowly from her shoulder down to her, taking in every of her away from the world. He was the most devoted husband, but behind the closed doors with one, his side came out without a filter. I came to the mall to buy a gift for you, Jungkook murmured, dropping into a low, raspy tone. But then I saw you walking in here, and I couldn't resist coming to check on my view. One face completely crimson. Well, you have a check. Now go back outside before someone sees you. Why should I go? He stepped forward, his smirk widening as he easily closed the distance between them. Cannot I admire my own wife? Van tried to throw him a glare, but before she could speak, Jungkook reached out, wrapping his strong arm around her and pulling her flesh against his back. He turned her around so she had no choice but to face the large fitting room mirror. In the reflection, she was a completely in nothing but thin black paint against his sharp tailored suit. Look at you, Jungkook whispered against the shell of her hair. He's giving her goosebumps. You are looking so wan, her lower, her cheeks flushed with awe. Blush as she looked at the reflection. Cook, we are in a store. I don't care. He softly. Jungkook quickly adjusted his clothing, fixing his pant and belt before pulling his suit jacket back into place with a practiced ease. Beside him, Van was completely exhausted. Her eyelids grew heavy and she leaned against his shoulder, her drained from the of everything that had just happened. I have got you, Jungkook murmured softly. Knowing the man's store floor was busy, he gently lifted her into his arms, carrying her bridal style. He bypassed the main entrance and pushed through the shop's back emergency exit, heading directly down the service hallway toward his private car to spare her from any public stare or judgment. A few hours later, Van's eyes slowly fluttered open. She found herself comfortably under the soft silk duvet in their own peaceful bedroom. The harsh sunlight replaced by the dim lighting of the late afternoon, the familiar faint scent of Jungkook's cologne on the street around her. Van shifted slightly, feeling a dull urge. Her that immediately broke back every word and from the fitting room, making a fresh blush creep up her. Just then the bathroom door clicked open and Jungkook stepped out wearing a simple pair of sweatpants. Seeing her awake, his cold expression softened instantly into a "You are awake?" he said softly, walking over to sit on the edge of the bed. He reached out gently, sweeping a strand of hair behind her ear. How are you feeling? Van pouted slightly, looking up at him with her tired, soft eyes. You really don't show any to me, do you? Jungkook chuckled, a rich sound that vibrated in his. I'm sorry, he murmured, his thumb gently tracing her cheekbone. It's just impossible to behave myself when you look that. Van sighed, a small smile breaking through her playful annoyance. She shifted her on the mattress, swinging her legs over and turning around to sit directly on his, resting her back against his throat. Jungkook immediately tightened his arm around her, pulling her flesh against him and rested. Where Van replied softly, leaning her head back against him, my are still shaking because of you. Good, Jungkook smirked, pressing a sweet on to the side of her. That just means I did my job right. Jungkook, she giggled, tapping his arm gently. Okay, okay, I'll be good now. He promised, his voice turning a soft and tender as he rested his cheek against her. Just stay like this with me for a while. It had been a week and a half, and Leah was living under the roof like a permanent guest, entirely backed by Jungkook's mother. Van sat at the dining table, picking at her food while shooting a sharp glare across the table at Leah. Leah had been talking a non-stop to Jungkook since dinner started, laughing at her own jokes and leaning in a little too close whenever he spoke. Jungkook was eating silently, giving a short, polite replies, only so he would not sound blandly rude in front of his family. But his posture was stiff, and his eyes kept flickering toward Vian, clearly sensing her growing irritation. Does this girl have a no shame? One thought to herself, her jaw clenching as Aliyah let out another dramatic laugh. She came here as a guest, and she has not even mentioned leaving this house once. Jungkook, do you remember that small cafe near our college apartment? Leah asked brightly, twirling her fork. We should totally visit it together this weekend, just like old times. Before Jungkook could even answer, Wan set had swan down onto her plate with a sharp clink that echoed across the table, drawing everyone's attention. Jungkook immediately looked at his wife, seeing the quiet fire in her eyes. Leah, Wan spoke up, her voice surprisingly calm, yet dripping with authority. Jungkook is extremely busy this weekend with Yuan Corporation work. As his wife, I manage his personal schedule, and he doesn't have a time for trips. Leah smiled fluttered for a brief second, while Jungkook secretly had a small swag behind his glass of water, every bite of his wife standing her ground. Van turned her gaze toward Jungkook, her expression instantly shifting into a sweet, overly affectionate smile coated in extra buttering. Van goes softly, her voice loud enough for the entire table to hear clearly. If you are done eating, you should head upstairs too. Now, you have that early meeting tomorrow, and I don't want my hardworking CEO getting tired. Leah's smile completely froze while Jungkook's mother gripped her spoon tight enough for her knuckles to turn white. Jungkook looked at his wife, his eyes sparkling with absolute delight at her sudden public affection. Without hesitation, he wiped his mouth with a napkin, pushed his chair back, and stood up. Yes, Jungkook said softly, offering a polite nod toward his family and a very dismissive glance at Leah. Good night, everyone. Good night, Mom said. Wan added with a polite, innocent bow, not even bothering to glance at Leah as she turned and to follow her husband. As they walked up the grand staircase, Van kept a steady pace behind him. The moment they turned the corner into the quiet hallway away from the dining room's prying eyes, Jungkook slowed his steps. He waited for her to catch up, grabbing her small hand and lacing his fingers through hers with a light tug. Jungkook teased in a low whisper, a smirk spreading across his as he pulled her closer to his side. I really like this jealous side of you. You are mine, Ryan said firmly, grabbing his suit collar with both hands and tugging him downward. I don't like your friend Leah, okay? I respect everyone, but she's intentionally trying to win your heart. I hate that. She actually thinks she can have you when you entirely to me. Jungkook chuckled softly, looking down at his 157 centimeter wife, boldly taking off his 178 centimeter frame, bending down smoothly to meet her height. He wrapped his arm around her. No matter what she does, my heart is always yours. One tilted her head, a little smirk gracing her. I know. Jungkook threw his head back and laughed, truly charmed by her confidence. Her playful expression softened into a slight pout as she continued. When she first arrived, your mother said right in front of me that she always wanted Leah to be your wife and that she had that you married me. Jungkook's laughter instead. She said that right in front of you. Wan nodded silently, her pout a sharp glance in Jungkook's. His jaw tightening until the muscle clicked. The thought of his mother openly disrespecting his wife inside their own home made his. Without a word, he pulled Van tightly into his arms, resting his chin on her head and pressing her into her hair. Why didn't you tell me this sooner? He asked softly, his voice thick with emotion. Van murmured against his, her arms wrapping around his. I just did not want to stress you out. Because of our marriage, your family is always taunting you, and you already carry so much pressure at work. Jungkook's heart softened even further at her gentle soul. Even while being, she was still putting his peace of mind first. He pulled back slightly, cupping her cheeks in his large hands. His eyes filled with absolute adoration and fierce protection. Listen to me, Jungkook said firmly. You are my priority, not my family's pride, not Leah, and certainly not anyone else's opinion. You never have to stay quiet to protect me. 2 days later, the atmosphere in the main estate was heavy. Jungkook stood at the center of the living room, his hand firmly holding Wan. His mother, father, uncle, and Leah were all gathered, staring in disbelief at the packed luggage by the door. Jungkook, what is the meaning of this foolishness? His mom demanded, his voice sharp. You are moving up because of her. Enough, mom. Jungkook's voice rang out, cold and unyielding. I have stayed silent for far too long while you disrespect my wife in her own home. But bringing Leah here and openly telling Ryan that you wish I married someone else, that was the final line. His father frowned, stepping forward. Jungkook, don't forget your status. Your mother was only. My status means nothing without Ryan. Jungkook cut him off firmly, his eyes with absolute conviction. Let me make one thing crystal clear to everyone in this room. Van is the only woman in my heart, my life, and my future. And if you cannot respect my wife, then you do not get to have me in this house. Leah's face went completely pale while his mother stood speechless, shocked by her son's unwavering stance. Without waiting for another word, Jungkook squeezed Van's hand, turned his back on his family, and led her out the front doors. A short drive later, the heavy iron gates of a modern, stunning estate swung open. Jungkook parked the car in front of a grand, sunlit mansion, a brand new home. He had quietly worked and prepared exclusively for two of them, away from all the drama. He walked around, opened the door for a van, and lifted her off of her feet into a bridal carry. Before she could even protest, Jungkook put me down, Van giggled, wrapping her arms around his. As he carried her through the front entrance, never. Jungkook smiled, a genuine radiant grin that reached his eyes. He sat her down gently in the middle of their messy, beautifully decorated living room. Van look around at the peaceful space. It's so beautiful, Jungkook. Jungkook stepped up behind her, wrapping his arms around her and resting his chin on her shoulder, taking in the serene quiet of their new home. It's our Jungkook whispered softly against her ear. No more cold looks, no more disrespect, and no more uninvited guests. Just you and me. Van turned in his arms, smiling brightly as a tear of happiness slipped down her cheek. Just you and me. Jungkook smiled softly, leaning down to capture her in a finally home in every sense of the word.